Hey guys, Sebastian from Madrigal here. How's everyone doing? I just got back from a pretty nice summer holiday and now I'm eager to get back to working on Project Slide. Now during my summer holiday I seem to have gotten quite a few new YouTube subscribers. So if you're new to the channel, first of all, welcome. I'm glad to have you. On this channel I am developing and chronicling my development of Project Slide, which is this vehicle-based game that you see in front of you. And I'm developing it using self-made tools and tech, particularly my self-made game engine called Basis. And due to that, there are some quite technical things on here, in addition to level design, game design, that kind of stuff. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you might know that typically after summer holiday I tend to like to actually work on some other things for a while, just to mix things up. But this year I have so many interesting and fun things to work on the main project that I'm just going to keep working on it for now at least. And that doesn't mean that I will be doing the same things over and over. In particular, in this video we're going to look at something quite different from what I normally do. In this video we're going to try to get rid of the very well-known Lua scripting virtual machine from the tech stack and replace it with something that we've created ourselves during this video. So if that sounds crazy and super ambitious, then let me explain. So the reason why I want to get rid of it is that it's only used in a very specific place and for a very specific purpose. And that purpose is running this one pipeline.lua script. So this is the so-called conversion pipeline script. And it tells the so-called asset server for the Basis game engine, which is this program here. It tells the asset server what to do with a certain kind of data file. So let's get rid of my practice runs there, and we'll do something like this. We have paint here just to create some texture somewhere. And we save this, and we save it into game is fine actually. And what do we call that? I don't know, test.png. You can see that when we save this, the asset server picked up on a new resource. So this is the full path to the test.png that we created here in Paint, and it created a resource with a name game/test.tex, and this is a so-called resource path. This thing here. That means that if you want to refer to this texture in the game, you can use this game/test.tex. You can't obviously use this d:projects blah blah blah, because this might not actually be valid, and indeed it probably isn't valid on a player's machine. And so this pipeline.lua script tells the asset server what to do with, for example, the PNG file type. So if we have a look at what it does, we can find the particular lines here. We have this pipeline object, which is sort of available to us throughout the whole script. And we add a conversion operation for the PNG file type. That gives us an object, and we use that object to call two methods, add tool step and generate resource file. And add tool step essentially tells us that, okay, we can use the texture converter exe. I'll try to make this a bit larger, easier to see. texture converter exe file, which is found in the tools folder path. These are called wildcards, and they get replaced with the actual thing by the asset server. So we use the texture converter, we give it the input file, we output to a temp folder and give it some other parameters. And then as a final step, we actually take that output that we got and put it in the correct place. And that gives us the resource that you see here. And this can be done for all the things. Here, for example, we have the same kind of deal for the FBX files, so meshes, and we create bin meshes from them. OBJ, same thing with that. SVG files, curve files, JPEGs, and anything that needs some custom conversion can be added here. We have some file types that we ignore completely, and then we have some file types that we copy over. And then we also tell the pipeline to ignore any folder called _work. So you can just put anything in those folders without having to worry that the system will actually convert them for you. And like I said, this is the only place in the whole tech stack where we use Lua. But if you look at the structure of this file, it's fairly simple actually. We don't really do any logic here. We just call these methods on the pipeline object. Then we call add conversion operation. We get a new object, and then we call some more methods on that. And there are some special things like setting file updates to false for certain types. But it's pretty straightforward stuff. And because my tools are C#, to use Lua, I actually use something called nlua, which is actually a very nice library if you want to have C# and Lua interact. Nlua then uses another library called Keralua, which apparently handles some of the lower level bindings that nlua needs. And what this means is that actually when we want to deploy a program, such as, should we go to, for example, the asset server, we need three libraries here. We need Keralua, we need the actual Lua library, which is a C library, and then the nlua library as well. And we need to do this with every tool that actually uses the conversion pipeline, and we have three of those. And also for my current version of Keralua and nlua, these actually depend on an older version of the C++ runtime than the rest of the project. So it's a bit silly. I have to install an older C++ runtime just to have Lua work. And I could update that. That wouldn't really be a problem. But in the end, I use Lua for this one thing, which actually doesn't even really need to be Lua. So it might be better just to get rid of it. So what are my options? Well, I could turn this stuff into some other format, like JSON, for example. I use JSON all over the place, or XML, or something like this. But I kind of like this syntax here. So let's try to make, during this video, a very small, quick and dirty ad hoc Lua VM. Not really VM, just more like a parser and an interpreter for a script like this, which understands just enough of the Lua syntax to be able to run this script. And that way we can get rid of the Lua runtime from the project. Okay, so let's have a look at how we use this in the code. So we are currently in the asset conversion library, and we can see here that it uses Keralua and nlua. And let's just actually delete those two. That should give us some compilation errors now. And we can see that we can't find these names. So we have nlua here. Get rid of that as well. We have this mlua, which is a Lua environment. We get rid of that as well. And then get rid of the newing the thing. And this mlua pipeline setting, this actually means that this pipeline object here in the script, it actually refers to this conversion pipeline object here. So that's something to keep in mind. We can just make this not disposable anymore, because the only disposing we did was actually disposing of Lua. We're not really going to use any native code for this. And here we can see run pipeline script. This is the place where we actually do the actual parsing and running and executing of the script. So do file, we get the script folder path, and then pipeline Lua. And in the future, this probably shouldn't be called .lua. It should be something else. But let's just keep it as it is for now. Okay, so now if we try to build this, it should build. But of course, we don't actually run that at all. And we can use the asset server to actually test this out, but a much easier program to use, which also uses the asset conversion library, is the material editor. So if we go here, this should now be missing some crucial things, because we've actually removed the ability to run that script. But yeah, this is a pretty typical shader editor using like a node graph like this. And it has a texture resource node. And now if we actually go here and we try to find something, hello, test, whatever, nothing shows up here because it doesn't actually know about any converted textures. So that's a problem. So this is a pretty good test. We should see all kinds of paths down here now that we've cleared the field. And this is an easier application just to test this out as we're developing it. So let's get cracking, shall we? So we have the conversion pipeline here. We need a new class to actually wrap our whole script runner in, or whatever we call it. I'm not going to call it a virtual machine because it's not that complex. So let's call this just pipeline script runner. And it will need to be public. And let's add the constructor, and we'll probably be passing it the conversion pipeline in the constructor like this. So it's this guy here. It's the one that actually wants to run it. And just like we did previously with Lua, we did this thing here. We told Lua that the pipeline object is actually this thing here. We want to actually pass the conversion pipeline as a parameter. So let's just have it there. Put some of these lines here to adhere to my conventions. So mpipeline, right? And then the only other thing we really kind of need is this, right? So we have a try catch block here, and this gives an error if something goes wrong. So we just need a method here, which can be void and run script, run script is probably fine. Script script file path. And then we call, actually, yeah, we won't have a Lua here. Instead, we have our new thing, which is protected script runner. And we can new it here. And we simply pass this as the pipeline. And then instead of doing this, we just do script runner run script and give it the same path. Again, probably shouldn't be a Lua file in the future, but for now it is, and it gives us nice syntax highlighting and everything. Okay. Just grab a little bit of coffee. So, how are we going to actually have this thing execute code? Well, let me start by saying that this is not going to be a proper scripting runtime. It's not something that you would ever want to put in like a game runtime thingy. This is something that I'm going to whip up in half an hour now, and hopefully it will be good enough for this. So these scripts are run whenever we start up one of these applications. They're fairly short scripts, so this is not even 120 lines. And because of that, we don't have to concern ourselves with performance all that much. I mean, we don't have to be stupid, but still, we don't have to do anything super complex. And I'm going to base this almost completely on regular expressions, which means that it won't be nearly fast enough for anything runtime like, but it will be quite fine for this kind of run once script. Just to get that out of the way. So, what do we want to do? Let's start by just reading the lines. Let's actually call this raw lines. And we'll want to use system.io file maybe, and read all lines. There we go. And this might throw all kinds of exceptions, as you can see, but since this whole thing is wrapped in a try-catch, we'll handle it gracefully. And for each line, or raw line, shall we say, in raw lines, first of all, if string is null or whitespace, we just skip it. Move on to the next line, right? The second thing I want to do is, and let's call this line, is raw line dot trim. So what this does is it removes all the leading and trailing white space from the line. And now that we've done that, we can already handle things like these lines. If you have like two minus signs, that's a Lua comment, so we can just skip those as well. So if line starts with two minus signs, then just continue. Try to like early out on all of the things that we know we don't want to deal with. Skip comments if anyone looks at this later and goes like, huh? Okay. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to want to try to match some of these lines. What are we actually interested in? So we have pipeline, and we have some methods, and then we have the conversion operation, and we have some methods, and that's essentially that's all we want. If we encounter something else, we should probably error out somehow. Okay, so the conversion pipeline, which is the main thing, it has this section here with these are called from the pipeline script. Here's some pack file obfuscation stuff, which is actually hasn't been used in a while, so we can just get rid of it. Right, so we have ignore folder, override tools folder, copy file, ignore file, conversion operation. Yep, that's it. These are the ones, these are the kind of things that we'll want to actually find in the script. So let's add some comments here, like look for the following lines. And how do we want to do that? We want to probably, let's just copy that. So ignore folder, that's one. Override tools folder is another one. And we can just use like, what do we call this? Like param. So it's one param like that, and another like that. Then we have copy file, it also takes one parameter. Ignore file, it takes one parameter. And add conversion operation. Right, so this now actually returns something. So we're gonna have to actually deal with these objects somehow. It also takes one parameter. And that should be everything that the pipeline can do. So then we have the actual conversion operation class, and it has a similar section here. So it has, let's just pretend to call this OP for now, so operation. And it has a tool step, and it has param1, param1, param2. Like that. That's something that we want to look at. And copy file step as well. And generate resource file. And then we have this thing. So these are those enable, disable toggles that I mentioned earlier. Right. So these are the kinds of lines that we actually want to find in the script file and do something about. And everything else we should either error out on or essentially ignore. All right. A bit more coffee. And we're ready to go. So I already mentioned that I'm gonna want to base this whole thing on regular expressions. So we can do using system.text.regular expressions, and then how do we want to do this? I think we're gonna want to have some kind of data structure for each one of these. Let's go with an enum and see if that gets us where we want to go. So we have a command index. And why is it called index? I will show you in a bit. So ignore folder is 0. I'm kind of making this up as I go, so I hope this will turn out all right, but we'll see. So ignore folder, override tools folder, copy file, ignore file, add conversion operation. Let's hope that the operation and the pipeline don't have any similarly named methods, because we'll be in trouble then. It looks like they don't, and then we'll actually want to have a count. Maybe we can actually get this somehow from have .NET tell us how many elements we have, but I can't be arsed to figure that out. We'll just have a count here. And this index is because maybe it doesn't have to be called index. Let's just call it command. It's a command, and it has like an identifier, and that identifier has like an entry in this thing here. Right. And so how do we match on these things? Like we for each line we've gone here, we've skipped the empty lines, we've skipped the command lines, or comment lines, sorry. And now I want to see if the line is actually one of the commands that we actually can do something about. So let's add a new method here. Let's call it private. Should probably return integer, I think. We call it match line. So it takes the line, And it probably needs to take, is it match? Yes, it's match. That needs to be a ref. Like this. So what I'm thinking is that if this line contains one of these guys, it will actually return like the numeric value here as an integer, right? And it will simply match them all until it finds one or try to match them all until it finds one that matches. If it doesn't, it returns minus 1. So that's like, okay, it didn't match. We have an error, or we have some like invalid things here. So we're gonna need to have some regular expressions. And so let's create a new list of strings, and this should be probably, I guess we have to do it like this. This is where the count comes in, so we have like the appropriate number of these guys. Then we'll take all of these, put them here, and we'll do regexes. Probably have to cast it to int again. Like this, and then here, this is where we can, oh, that probably needs to be command, doesn't it? Yeah. We can take this part and just splat it over each one. What's the problem? Oh, how did I not actually get that included in my copy? That's not good. We'll fix it. Alright, so we create a new list of these regular expressions. We will fill them in, but for now we'll just set them all to empty strings. And then the actual logic. So this is essentially like the heart of our small script parser here. So we'll iterate through this list of regexes, and we'll do we'll do match is regex match line, and then we try to match it with the current one. And if the match succeeds, then we return the index. So again, the numerical value of one of these guys. So 6, for example, means that, yeah, copy file step. And we actually, at the same time, we sort of, since this is a reference, we get the match here in the reference parameter. So that should be fine. And now we should be able to do something like so is math, not math, match, and not name of, but null, and command is match line, and that would be line, and that would be ref match, I think. Oh, not that. Like so. Let's see if this actually builds now, first of all. Yes. Okay. So if command is not -1, right? If it is a valid command, so to speak, then we do something with it. If it's not, then let's error out. So here we can do throw new exception invalid pipeline script content, and then we can just put the line here like this. So this is like, we don't really know what it is. If we add a new command and we haven't added it to this list yet, this will error out here. It doesn't know what it actually means. Okay. So if we do have this, then we can act on it, and we will probably want to act by switching on the command And then we have to do something like this, I think. Oh, can we actually just take this here and let's see. So come on. Well, it wants to mess with me, but I'm not letting it. So we take that and we replace it with a colon, yes, and then we take actually no, not in the whole thing. No. Oh, come on, no. I'm pressing the wrong buttons here. I'm sorry. That's not what I wanted to do. Now let's do one at a time, just until we get to that one, and that's what we want. And then we want to take that and make it like so. Here we go. Now we have a beautiful switch case. Except I still somehow left that one out of my selection. How peculiar. That we probably need to break on each one. Yeah, so this is essentially like, if we consider this almost like bytecode, where you have like each command has some kind of opcode. This is almost like a very simple virtual machine in the sense that we have this big switch case telling us what to do with that data. Okay, so then we go to this wonderful website called Regex 101, and we figure out how to match on these guys, like this one, for example, pipeline ignore folder param. All right, how do we actually find a line like that? Let's put our string here. Let's remember to make it C#. The flavor, and then it should actually probably be almost exactly this, but the actual call is going to look like this, right? It's like a string like this. So we want to put the quotes there. We don't want to include the quotes. And then we'll add one group, one capture group, or whatever it's called, like that. And we probably need to escape these guys like so, and that would appear to work. So I'm not super good at using regular expressions. I know just about enough to get by, but here we have a match on this piece of data. And what we actually want to first of all figure out if it matches or not, and then when we know that, we want to get this _work out of there. So this allows us to get it as the group. Group 1 is work here, and we could add more of these groups by using parentheses elsewhere in the regular expression if we wanted to. Cool. So that's our first regular expression. It was ignore folder, and it would be that. So the next one looks almost exactly the same. It's simply override tools folder. Do the same there. And then copy file should be, again, essentially completed the same. And ignore file as well. There we go. So now we come to the interesting part, which is this add conversion operation. And with this, we actually we want to capture a few things. First of all, we want to capture this name that it's actually assigning it to, so that we can keep track of it. And then we want to make sure that we're calling this the proper method, and then again keeping as another group, we want to track the parameter of it. So how do we do that? Let's do something like this, and we can go back to our site and go like PNG. Right, so here we want to capture, do we call this method? What is the name of this guy, and what is this? So as the very first group, we add this first group, and now it just matches everything. That's obviously not what we want. And I will have to keep in mind that we have these white spaces here. So I'm actually gonna put this star means 0 or more. This plus means 1 or more. So we can have a white space there or not. And then an equal sign, and then another one of these groups. And then we have pipeline add conversion operation, like so. And we want to escape that one. And we should be golden if we do this. Escape the closing one, right? Right, so this now matches. The first group is the OP, that's the operation name. Second group and third group are in this case it's null and a single character. Actually, yeah, the first group now matches that one. Yeah, that's how do we actually do this? Yeah, that's actually not what I want. Like if we make it this, now it works. But now it actually probably doesn't work if I take this away, right? Now OP looks like that. Yeah, that's interesting. I might not actually know how to deal with this, because I'm not terribly good at regular expressions. Anyway, what we'll actually do here is just this. So this first group matches 1 or more, and this matches 0 or more. So we'll get the first group will get OP and white space, and I'll actually just trim the white space away in the code just to be sure. The second group is here. It's white space, but it can also be null if we do that. That's fine. And then group 3 is PNG. And yes, I know we can actually probably break this by doing something like this. So I might have to actually revisit these regular expressions a bit later on to figure out how to make them more solid. But we don't even know if this thing is going to work yet, so let's keep it like this. And speaking of, maybe we should actually make a small test and just make sure we can actually get something out of it. So let's break in a few of these guys and see what's what. All right, so raw lines, that gives us things that look pretty good. Okay, so we go into here, we figure out something, and we go to the next line. Okay, so let's go to the first line that actually has something. And line says pipeline ignore folder work. And it actually goes there. That's cool. Okay, let's go to the next one. What does this line say? It says pipeline copy file raw. That's number 2. So it goes to the copy file. It seems to be working, at least so far. Let's see if we can actually get it to hit any of our add conversion operation. And the line says, would you look at that? It does seem like it's working. And font operation, yeah, it's the first one. It's that one. Okay, so now that we've gotten this far, we should probably try to actually act on the things that we get out of this. So in this case, we get the value, ignore folder parameter, essentially, match, and that would be groups 1, I think. We should only have 1. And as far as I remember, the regular expression groups are 1 based and not 0 based, which is a bit confusing, but still, actually I can just copy this whole thing. Override tools folder, copy file, and ignore file. Like so. And then we have this add conversion operation. This is now a bit more interesting. So first of all, we have the operation name, right? That's always the first group value. And here we actually need to trim this. This is kind of important. We trim it, and then we go back to the site, and we see that okay, group 3 is now the one that has the extension. So that's group 3. We just take this extension, right? But now we need to store this somehow, this font operation name, so that we know. Well, first of all, we need to add it to the pipeline. Then we need to store it so that we can use it later in these other ones. And for that, I am probably just going to use a dictionary. So let's add a dictionary here. And that would be string. String is the key. And conversion conversion operation. So M operations. Something like this. We need to keep this alive during the whole running of the script, which is why I'm putting it up there. And now, as we actually add the conversion operation, we add it directly into the dictionary. So we take mPipeline add conversion operation using the extension, right? Add it using the extension, that returns a conversion operation. We add it into our dictionary with the name so that we can refer to it later. Okay? That's cool. And now we get to the really complicated stuff, or maybe, I don't know if it's complicated or not. So we need to add the tool step. And this is now not run on the pipeline like we've had with all of these other ones, but this is actually run on the operation. So how do we deal with that? Well, if we take, let's take the one that we actually looked at, like this. And we go here, and we can put the string there. And we can make this a bit shorter, param1 and param2. Right, so we want to get this one as the first one, right? So we can probably do that by using a group with that's 0 and more. No, it needs to be 1 or more. And then we had add tool step, and we need to escape those. And now then, how do we do this? Because we would like to actually match on, regardless of if it has like a white space there or white space here or not. So let's start with probably one of these guys, right? We have a group that may or may not match. And currently it just matches the whole parameter string, right? And then we have a quotation mark, and we have another group inside the quotation marks which needs to have something like that. And then we will want to have is it this maybe? And then maybe the same thing again. Yeah, I'm sort of thinking about this out loud. Like, is that what we want? It might be. Might be. We might actually even want to have one last optional group there. Yeah. I'm thinking that might be what we want. So the first group is the font operation. And we have the second group is this guy here. We can see its position in the string, but it doesn't actually match anything. But if we add a space there, then it matches. Then we have the param1, which is group 3. That contains the second, the first parameter. And then, oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, we need one more there as well. Yeah, this is perhaps a little silly. How do we do this? Is it like that? I think. Right, so we can have space there. We can have a space there. We can have a space there or not. And we can have a space there. And it sort of fills in these groups with either nulls or empties if we actually have some white space there. Yeah, that looks horrible, and it's probably not very performant, but oh well. It is what it is. Let's try that. That should work. And while we're actually at it, we might want to improve this a little bit. So let's say we have here like work like this. Okay, this matches, but it doesn't match now. That's not good. So let's add. Oh, not that. Let's add an optional one there, right? And let's also add an optional one there to all of the previous ones as well. So now it works even though we do something like that or something like that. And yeah, it's not great, is it? But it probably deals with most versions of how one might actually call one of those methods. I don't want to make it like too rigid so it doesn't understand you if you have like a space there or not. Okay, so that's better. But now we had this horrible thing, and I forgot to actually get the indices out of it. So let's revisit it once again. So group 1 is the font operation. Okay, that's good. So we have it this is the one. So that's the operation name, group 1. All right. Then we have the what do we actually call that? Tool step, add tool step. So that's tool path, right? And which one is that? That would be group 3, and group 6 is the second parameter. So group 3 and group 6. Group 3, toolpath, and parameters is group 6, right? And now we want to make sure here that if we don't have that operation, if it doesn't contain the key, well, not that, but operation name, then we'll actually throw new exception. Conversion operation does not exist. Or operation. Yeah, let's maybe do it with the string convert. So that would be like a not found. Do something like this. And right, let's do string format and operation name, right? Something like this. So if we try to do something silly where you go like font operation, but then you call like font2 operation at tool step, it would go like, well, font2 operation doesn't actually exist. That should be good. And then we can simply do m operations and get the operation name, and then call add tool step. And we have the tool path, and we have the parameters, like so. And that should be it. That should be what we want. I don't think we need to trim these because we should give them verbatim as they are inside of the actual quotes, because they're strings. Right, that's one. The next one should be pretty much the same, except we have add copy file step, and it's called source file path and destination file path, and add copy file step instead. And we need to take this guy and add copy file step instead. And then generate resource file is exactly the same as before. Resource file path. Oh, generate resource file. And we do the same again. And there's some copy pasting here that I could probably get rid of if I wanted to. But for the time being, we'll leave it as it is. Okay. Then we have set enable for work folder context init. That should be pretty simple to get going. So we have essentially this. This will be either true or false. So what we can do is like something like this. And what would that be? I think that should probably cover it. Yeah. I think that should cover it. If we now do this, we'll have a white space there, so we'll need to trim the value with if we're using this this regex, but it should be fine. So we have that, and then we have file updates, and then we have force conversion. Right. So again, we do this. We do string operation. That's that. And then we do what do we call it? Like string enabled is groups, and that would be 2, trim. Oh. No, value and trim. Something like that. And again, we need to check that it is actually there. Maybe we'll actually get just make something slightly nicer. So conversion operation, get operation with the name, and the only thing it actually does is returns can we actually operate that would be name. Yeah, it doesn't exist, right? Because, well, okay, yeah. Just pass it. This is almost like a helper function. I want to make it so that we don't have to do this if everywhere, but maybe that's too much to ask. Can we actually do like operations find? No. Okay. Let's not get fancy. Operations name. Something like that. Right. Get operations. Now we can just do. In these cases, we can do get operation operations operation name. Generate resource file, etc., etc. That should make it a little. I should make this code a little shorter. Like so. And we can do the same thing here as well. So set enabled for full context init. This will be like enabled equals true, I guess. Like that. File updates, and finally force conversion. All right. This would mean that if we are lucky and we haven't made any stupid mistakes, we should actually have a working ad hoc parser runner thingy now. So let's put some breakpoints here in these in these methods to see if we hit any of them, and we run. Yes. Okay, so we're hitting that. There is already file operation for the file extension empty. Okay, so we have made a mistake somewhere. We have made a mistake somewhere. Let's figure it out. What are we actually doing? Why am I not hitting that? That's interesting. We're ignoring. It's really very peculiar. Let's see. I can't actually get a call stack for that. That's super weird. Why can't I get a call stack for my error? Oh, I need to pause it, don't I? Yes. Okay, here we go. So copy file. Okay. Copy file. What is the line? OGV. Okay. And what does that look like? Really? Copy file OGV. Like it's that, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes. Yes. It's because we added these extra white space handling groups to the first 4 ones. Yeah, so now it's like optional white space, then the actual value, and then optional white space again. Yes. And maybe we can do the same thing actually with that as well. Right? So let's see. It's like that. So we have 1, 2, 3 is the actual value. Already had it at 3. Okay, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, right. That would be that one. Right. Okay. That should be better. Right. So now we're hitting these things. So we get font operation, and the extension is FNT. That looks good. Then we get add tool step, font operation, toolpath, parameters. Yeah, seems to be working. And we pass them there. That looks good. That looks good. Same thing here. That looks good as well. Another tool step and another. Like we tend to get lots of those. That we can remove those. And then we have file enabled for file updates. That should be false, and it is. And this should be for the Excel files. So we can look at the line here. And the line is Excel operation set enable for file updates false. Indeed. That looks good. That looks good. Okay. So now then, if we actually put in like a texture resource here, we should see. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Now we have like all kinds of textures here because now the script runs again, and it runs without any kind of Lua runtime. How about that? How about that? And now, of course, if we just put in some like whatever, save it, and we run it, we should get an error about invalid pipeline script content, whatever. Yes. Or if indeed we do something like pipeline cool new method true, something like this, even though it sort of follows the same even though it follows the same syntax, and this is something that we might want to add, like a cool new method. It doesn't know what to do with it, so it lets you know that like I don't understand what this is. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Well, I think we have pretty much managed to accomplish what we set out to do. Using a little over 200 lines of code, we now have a very simple parser, if you will. Even though it's not really, it's kind of like a glorified set of regex calls. We can actually parse this quite nicely now. And The performance is probably not that great. Let's go to release and go to pipeline and add. So we can probably see that this is most likely not going to be instantaneous. Like if I step now, well, it actually was pretty quick. maybe I underestimated my regex skills here, but yeah, the performance is not going to be something that like I said, something that you could actually use to script anything for like runtime use. And of course, the parser is still very, very simple and doesn't really understand anything except the expressions that you specifically tell it. But I'm very happy with how this turned out, because I kind of like this syntax of specifying these things. And now I can, of course, extend and improve on this parser and runner as much as I want. And adding a new command, for example, is very simple. You add it here, you add the regex here to figure out how to parse it, and then you add a new case here to actually act on it. So that's not too bad. That's not too bad. I think we are done for today. Stay tuned for some more game dev oriented videos in the near future. And with that, I thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.